This bear is the one who was nearly shot when a conservation officer suddenly came to our house, loaded the biggest gun I had ever seen, and announced that he had come to shoot the bears. Her name was Elmeretta. Ever since I had bought our house in that wild valley 30 years before, the local gossipers had been telling each other that I was a witch. So when nearby forest fires caused a stream of wildlife to flee through our end of the valley, they finally had something concrete with which they could get me. They started telling each other the bears must be there because I was feeding them, and they called the conservation officer every time they saw one to announce that I was feeding it. That's why a conservation officer came, pointed his war weapon at our house, and announced that he had come to shoot the bears. My husband told me to go upstairs and went out to meet him. He assured him that we were not feeding any bears, but the conservation officer didn't believe him. He began examining every inch of ground for evidence. I waited upstairs as the time passed, watching the forested mountainside that rose behind the house. Eventually, I noticed that this bear was high above, looking over a log. After another spell of time passed, she climbed upon it and leaped. The whole bear was airborne, just for a moment, before she caught a nearby tree and shinnied down the trunk. Then she began picking her way, very slowly, down the mountainside. Likely she wanted water, and to get a drink she would pass through our property. She was moving along a wildlife corridor leading to the valley floor. Beyond that point, the mountain slope became a precipice. As the bear meandered down the mountain, time after time I rushed to the front bedroom to see what the officer and my husband could possibly be doing that was taking so long. They were standing talking on the driveway, and as the bear descended and they did not move, I developed a terrible panic attack. If she came into view and the officer shot her, and he was clearly looking for bears to shoot, my husband would lose all control and attack him, and my happy life would be over. The bear reached the foot of the slope. She was at the back of the house, and the conservation officer was at the front. What to do? My eyes fell on a stack of sheets on the bed, waiting to be put away, and, overwhelmed by desperation, I snatched one up and began shaking it out the window. I could see the bear's front paws beneath the screen of leaves. Every so often, she moved them as if she was thinking of advancing, and whenever she did, I shook the sheet. 20 minutes went by as I watched her, shaking the sheet in response to her movements, terrified that the officer might at any moment appear and see us. But he did not, and the bear did not come forward. She had caught on. To her, it must have seemed as if the house was hissing every time she made a move to pass it. After a long hesitation, she turned around and made her way back up the mountainside. She had not been able to get the drink she doubtless wanted on that hot summer afternoon, and she disappeared among the trees. When I checked, the men were still talking on the driveway, so I returned to the back of the house. After several minutes, the bear reappeared, walking along a fallen tree high on the slope, barely visible through the trees. The officer did not see her. The officer agreed that we were not feeding bears, for our garden was pristine and undisturbed, and though he did find one bear excrement in the surrounding foliage, it was obvious that the bear in question had been eating berries. However, though we thought that we would no longer be accused, the gossipers refused to let the facts stand in their way, and that was the beginning of a reign of terror they brought down upon us. That is why I am writing this book about the way wildlife and wildlife artists are treated in Canada, and illustrating it with paintings of each bear. I hope you enjoyed my speed painting. Thank you very much for watching and for hearing me. Bye for now.